I trusted, even when I said, I am sorely afflicted. O precious in the eyes of the Lord, precious is the death of the faithful. Your servant, Lord, your servant am I. You have loosened my bonds. A thanksgiving sacrifice I make. I will call on the Lord's name. My vows to the Lord I will fulfill. Fulfill before all his people. In the courts of the house of the Lord, and in your midst, O Jerusalem.
Hello, Monsignor Daniel McHugh. My reflection for the second week of Lent. How can I renounce the King who saved me? Words from St. Polycarp, whose feast is the 23rd of February, tomorrow. Why did Alexei Navalny return to Russia after there had been an attempt to poison him? I've heard that question more than once since he has died at a jail in the Arctic Circle. The anti-corruption campaigner had almost died 4 years ago, and on his return to Russia, he was imprisoned for 30 years. I was very interested to hear the Reverend Professor David Wilkinson on Thought for the Day on BBC Radio 4 this week give an answer. He quoted Navalny saying in an interview, "If I want people to trust me, I must share risks with them." He chose to be vulnerable with the vulnerable. I thought that that is what Jesus himself did and paid the price. Navalny had been atheist but became a Christian, and he is said to have quoted Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness." Jesus knew that ultimately his way would lead to triumph, as of course it did. It strikes me that we make the Stations of Cross in Lent, we're ever more conscious of Jesus standing with us in the crosses we carry and encouraging us to continue on the way that leads to new life. The passage from St. Mark's Gospel that is put before us by the Church on the second Sunday of Lent comes after Jesus' prediction of the Passion. 6 days earlier, he said he must suffer greatly and be rejected and be killed and rise after 3 days. You remember, Peter rebuked him for saying so, and in turn Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan. Your thinking is not as God does, but as human beings do." Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, and he pauses with 3 of his disciples to go apart to pray on a high mountain. Jesus always sought his Father's will in prayer. Ernest Ferlita in his commentary sees him seeking confirmation, asking, "Am I doing your will in setting my face towards Jerusalem?" On the mountain with Peter, James, and John, he received the confirmation he seeks. He is transfigured before them. Elijah, the great prophet, and Moses, the lawgiver, appears beside him, talking to him. About what? St. Luke, in his Gospel, says they spoke of the exodus he was to achieve in Jerusalem. The exodus recalls the exodus of God's people from captivity in Egypt through the desert to the promised land. For Jesus, it is to pass over through the cross into glory. God confirms in the Transfiguration what he wants from his Son. To the disciples, he says in St. Mark, "This is my beloved Son, listen to him." Ferlita, in his commentary, quotes George Macaulay in The Unfinished Image, page 89, saying, "What God wills is that he share in solidarity our human condition, a solidarity that will bring him to death. Yes, death on a cross. Like Abraham, of Sunday's first reading from Genesis 22, Jesus goes on a journey, trusting that God is able to raise him from the dead. On Sunday last, I was celebrating Mass for my friend in St. Joseph's and St. Paul's, Kings Norton. The deacon, Peter, was showing me the different versions of the Stations of the Cross the parishioners would have starting on the first Sunday of Lent. The Stations are one of the devotions the Church offers in Lent to help us become more aware of the love and solidarity of Jesus with our human condition, the crosses we bear and others bear in parts of the world where there is oppression and persecution. This second week of Lent, and in the light of the Sunday Gospel, we could think about going apart for a time to consider, as Jesus did, what God the Father wants from me. What is God's will for me? Making the Stations of the Cross in our parish is one evident way of doing this. Another is to purchase a version of the Stations to pray quietly at home or on a walk. Personally, I found the Stations of the Cross with Mary, which have been erected at Walsingham, very beautiful for personal prayer. They can be purchased in booklet form from the bookshop at the shrine. The concluding prayer in those Stations is taken from St. Faustina, the Apostle of Divine Mercy. You expired, Jesus, but the source of life gushed forth for souls, and the ocean of mercy opened up for the whole world. O blood and water which gushed forth from the heart of Jesus as a fount of mercy for us, I trust in you. That's taken from St. Faustina's diary. Leading up to the second week of Lent, we have an inspirational saint from the early years of the Church, St. Polycarp of Smyrna. Some years ago on holiday, I visited the church dedicated to him in Smyrna, now Izmir, in present-day Turkey. He was about 86, the diocesan order records, when the Roman proconsul urged him to renounce Christ and save his life. St. Polycarp replied, "For 86 years I have served him, and he has never wronged me. How can I renounce the King who saved me?" Thank God for the example of St. Polycarp, other saints, and inspirational human beings, as we renew our commitment to follow the way of Jesus this Lent.
Jesus, Lord of glory,